What if Loves had the Omnitrix? Written by Kajlord54, Season 2, Part 3. We begin with Loves trying to figure out a way to make glyph combinations until King jumps in. King. Loves. I need your help. I think Francois is trying to start a rebellion. He says, pointing towards his stuffed bunny. Loves. Not now, King. I'm getting close to figuring out this glyph combo. King. It's always glyphs with you these days. What about King? Loves. Why don't you ask Lilith for help? She was in the Emperor's Coven. She has more experience with unruly mobs than anyone. She suggested as Lilith had just finished drawing the red leaf. Lilith. Watching the ink dry is the best part. Hootie. A fresh cup of tea for my favorite cup of tea. That's you, Lulu. He says, bringing our teacup. Lilith. Well, Hootzifer, you truly are a gem. How do you always know what to do? She says while patting the owl tube creature on the head. King. What's going on? Is Woody blackmailing her? Loves. No, I think they're actually friends. Anyway, time to test out this glyph combo. Now you see me, she says, using the glyph as she turns invisible. This caught Lilith's attention just before the invisibility ceased. Loves. Now you don't. Huh. I guess it only works as long as you hold your breath. Still, pretty cool, right? King. Don't ever do that again. He says while hugging the teen's leg. Lilith. Do that again. However did you accomplish it? Loves. Well, since you guys discovered that we can make new spells by combining glyphs, I've been experimenting. I got the invisibility idea from your history books. Lilith. Fascinating. As the lead historical scholar of the Emperor's Coven, my aid could be very helpful and she was cut off by tripping into a large pile of king stuffed animals. King. An ambush. Men, defend your ruler. He says, throwing one of the stuffed animals towards Lilith only for Hootie to block it. Hootie then makes a fake groan. Hootie. I'm done for, Lulu. Lilith. Hootzifer, this is make-believe. Hootie. Ah, to die in your arms. Avenge me. Bleh. He says, playing dead before King throws another stuffed animal at Lilith. King. The king of demons yields to no one. Lilith. Historically, demons have never been united under a single rule until Blos. There's no such thing as a king of demons. King. Blasphemy. Clearly you know nothing of my reign of terror. Allow me to tell you. I was once the mighty king of demons. I was beloved almost as much as I was feared. But one dark day, an evil spell was cast, transforming me into this. Hootie. Oh. What happened to your crown of power? King. A trifle. That was just to test Evta and Laz's dedication to me. They passed. My real crown is still out there. But when I shrank, my memories got, fuzzy. Lilith. How convenient. A hole in your memory for each hole in your story. She says, making Hootie laugh. Hootie. Nice one, Lulu. Up top. He says, Lilith high-fiving him in the face since he doesn't have many hints. King. Hey, I remember plenty. I remember armies bowing before me, being served the greatest of feasts, and falling from a massive height as that evil head shrank me. One day, I'll return to my rightful place and all shall fear me. Loves. Aw, you're gonna be such a good tyrant. Who's the scariest demon king? Who is it? She said, giving King Billy rubs as the demon giggled. King. Me. It's me. Lilith. Your dedication to this farce would be charming if it weren't so sad. King. Don't blame me for your ignorance. I'm not a liar and I can prove it. He says, storming out of the living room as Lilith scoffs. Lilith. He called me ignorant. Me. Loves. Stop it, you guys. This story is really important to him, so the least we can do is play along. She says while picking up the stuffed animals off the floor. Lilith. You mean indulge his silly fantasy? Hootie. Yeah. I'm a house of principles. You're asking me to lie. Outrageous. Loves. Could you please just go with it? For Hisaka? She asks before King comes back with Ed and Lilith's talisman in hand. King. Alright, you two shall regret ever doubting me. We're going to my castle. Loves. Oh, Hootie. What's wrong, Luz? I thought you said we should just go. He was cut off by Luz covering the owl tube creature's mouth with her hand. Luz. Go with him. Let's go to King's castle with him. Lilith. My historical expertise is being questioned and I will not allow it. She says, taking her talisman. Lilith. Hootie, would you like to accompany us? Hootie gasps loudly in response. Hootie, I'll get ready, he says before, somehow and disgustingly removing himself from the door and into a house-shaped backpack. Hootie. Porty Hootie, reporting for Hootie. Luz was trying her best not to puke as King cried tears of distress while Lilith looked like she was about to faint. They then took a 10-minute break, calming themselves down before finally exiting the owl house. Luz then gets onto his talisman as King rides her shoulder with Lilith using her own talisman while wearing Hootie on her back. King, fly my fair chariot. Fly, he says, Luz smiling at the little Maurice Kinglins before taking off into the sky with Lilith and Hootie right behind them. After some time, the sun was setting as it was getting darker by the minute. Hootie, are we still flying? It's been hours. Lilith, should we call it a day? Or perhaps a night? She says before laughing. Lilith, Hootie, your sense of humor is infectious. King, there it is, he says, pointing towards an island off the isle's coast. Lilith, this island shouldn't be here. It's not on any of the maps. King, it's always been there when I looked for it, he says with a smug grin, much to Lilith's annoyance as they landed on the beach. King, after I shrunk I woke up here, into his arms, and she carried me away. Like a little baby. Loves, she says before Hootie lets out a gasp. Hootie, look, he says as they all saw a large tower-like structure in the distance. King, ah, home sweet home, he says before they started making their way into the jungle. Lilith, the tower is certainly intriguing, but oh, she says, about to trip only for Hootie to help her regain her balance. Lilith, thank you, Lucifer. Hootie, my pleasure. Lilith, but couldn't we have landed a little closer? King, the treetops are so thick, this is the only way in. Plus, now I can dramatically do this, he says before moving a bush to reveal a giant door in the shape of a keyhole that was blocked by piles of rocks. Loves, well, she says before they approach the door, King entering through a small hole only he can fit through. After a little while, King was able to make the rocks collapse, allowing Luz, Lilith and Hootie to enter the tower. It was dark, so Luz and Lilith used light leaves to light their way. They all marveled at the strange symbols, language and the many piles of rocks that each had a crescent shape at the top. What really caught their attention were the wall carvings that portrayed what seemed to be an older, more intimidating version of King. Luz, hey, King. What's that up there? She asks about a hole in the ceiling that was blocked by a bunch of rocks. King, I can't quite recall. I just remember a muffled roar. Probably some minion praising my name, he says before Luz heard a noise, turning around to see nothing. She waits in silence for a few seconds before hearing the noise again, walking towards a dark hallway. The Omnitrix user turns to see Lilith and Hootie, both seeming to now believe King's story of them being the king of demons. Luz then enters the hallway, light leaf in hand, finding the walls littered with strange dead creatures of rock, flesh and bone. She was surprised to see that there were so many and shocked to see that 2 of these coffins were empty. Luz's eyes widened upon hearing the rattling sound, turning around to once again see nothing. Luz then immediately makes her way back to the others. Luz, guys, we gotta go. Lilith, why? There's so much to learn, they say before they all heard the rattling sounds coming from the ceiling. They looked up, Lilith using a light leaf to reveal 2 of these flesh golem-looking creatures crawling on the ceiling before looking right at them. Luz, time to go, she says, quickly fiddling with the Omnitrix before transforming into XLR8, grabbing King, Lilith and Hootie before making a run for the exit. The 2 creatures tried to cut them off but Luz was too fast so she outmaneuvered them and got out of the tower unscathed. They turned around to see the creatures stop at the entrance. They seemed to be unable to leave for some reason. They then continued running until they ran into Etta. Etta, Luz, XLR8, Etta, what are you doing here? Etta, I followed you here. Are you hurt? XLR8, no, we're fine. Etta, good. XLR8, what were those things? It looked like they were guarding the place. King, but it's my castle. How can we be intruders? He said as Luz fell silent, not wanting to tell King his stories of being a demon king might be false. King, wait, you don't believe this is my castle? XLR8, King. Luz, you think I would lie to you? XLR8, King, Etta, you're not lying. You just don't know the truth. It's time for me to tell you how we really met, she said as everyone remained silent and listened. Edda. 8 years ago, I was looking for a place to hide from the Emperor's Coven. I never knew this place existed and it just appeared out of the mist. So I landed. Now, I was one hot tamale, but the boiling rains were even hotter. I needed shelter, but when I found it, I wasn't alone. I found little baby you, King. I assumed you were just some stray dog, and then those things came out of nowhere and tried to kill us both. So I picked you up and bounced. But even when I got out, one of the creatures morphed its hands into a bow and arrow, hitting you in the head and breaking your left horn. Against my better judgment, I took you home with me. I have gotten you the collar, 'cause, well, that's what you do when you get a new pet. But then I saw you stacking a bunch of junk the same way you made those rocks. I called you a king amongst his subjects. Then you started talking, and then I started telling you all sorts of things about kings. And that's how you got the idea that you were some despotic overlord. Oh, but you were finally happy, so I kept playing along with it. King. Why you're lying? Edda. I'm not. She says before showing him the missing piece of his left horn, King gasping in shock before taking it in his paws. His eyes widened upon remembering his childhood. King. My army, my feasts, my life, he says, heartbroken before throwing the horn to the ground. King. No. Keep that thing away from me. It's messing with my head. XLR8. King, it's gonna be okay. King. You're all just making fun of me like usual, right? He says, wheezing in emotional pain. King. No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Nell yells before running off. XLR8. King, wait. She calls out to him, running after the little demon, catching him in an instant. King. Let me go, loves. XLR8. King, please calm down. King. Let go of me. He yelled before Luz pulls the small demon into her arms. XLR8. We need a minute. She says, to which Eth nods in agreement before Luz uses her super speed to take King to the beach, letting him go. She then puts King down, the little demon sitting down on a log with his head down in sadness. King. Edda was right, wasn't she? I was never king of anything. I'm nobody. He says before Luz taps the Omnitrix, turning back into a human. Luz, you're not a nobody, King. We love you very much and we're sorry for pretending to believe your story. We just wanted you to be happy. King. I was happy, but everyone left. And I was too caught up in the fantasy to realize it. I don't know what to do. I can't tell what's real and what's fake. He says, sobbing as tears streamed down his face. Luz didn't like seeing King like this before looking towards the tower in the distance. Luz, something's not adding up. One of your memories was falling, right? King. Probably another stupid thing I made up. Luz, no. What if that's a real memory? King. Why does it matter? Luz, because earlier you told us that you heard a roar from up in the shaft. Maybe that's where you fell from. Edda found you in those ruins. There's gotta be a clue in there about where you came from. King. I don't know, Luz. What if the story gets worse? Luz, you might have been alone before, but you have us now. Whatever we find out there won't change a thing. So, what do you say? She says, extending her hand out to him. After a single second, King took it. King. Okay. He says before Luz carries the little demon head back to meet up with the others. Edda. Hey, King. She said as King fell silent, to which Edda lets out a sigh. Edda. You're mad at me. I get it. I would be too. I'm so sorry, King. She says before King pokes her cheek. King. No more secrets, okay? You have to promise me. Edda. Only truths. I promise. Luz. Great. But before we leave, we have one thing to check out. Lilith. We have a strategy, yes? Luz. Yeah. I'll fight off those creatures while you, Edda, King and Hootie unblick the shaft in the ceiling. Edda. You sure about this? I mean, you can take them, right? Luz. I'll be fine. You just stick to the plan. They said before our protagonists make their way back to the tower. Luz. Okay, let's do this. She says, fiddling with the Omnitrix before transforming into a tall, muscular gargoyle-like alien with gray, stone-like skin, large bat-like wings, as well as horns, claws, sharp teeth, long maroon hair, a long spiked tail and glowing red eyes. Edda. Oh, Stoneheart, right. Stoneheart. Yup. she says before making our way inside while the others waited. Stoneheart, hey! Over here! She yelled, catching the attention of the two creatures as they darted towards her. Luz then flies into the air, drawing the creatures away from the entrance as the others make their way inside, using invisibility glyphs. The creatures glared at Luz as they climbed up the walls and onto the ceiling in order to reach her. Stoneheart, that's right. Come to Mama, she says with a smirk before the two leapt towards her, their hands morphing into blades and axes. Luz then got out of the way, allowing the creatures to collide midair. She then grabs them by the leg after they started falling. She then flies about the room, slamming them into the walls, ceiling and floor. Meanwhile, Etta, King, Lilith and Hootie had made their way to the rock-filled shaft and immediately got to work. The creatures managed to use their weapon hands on Luz, only to find that her skin was too rough to damage. Luz then spun around like a tornado, figuratively, before throwing the creatures into the pile of rocks that, now that she thinks about it, resembles them, in a way. The creatures barely had any time to get up as Etta used a potion to create an explosion, opening up the shaft. Luz would then dig her claws into a wall, taking a large chunk of rock out of it before throwing it towards the creatures, trapping them. Stoneheart, let's go! She yelled, as she flew up the shaft with the other up ahead. The creatures struggled a bit, but slowly started to lift the chunk of rock off of them. Our protagonists quickly made it to the top of the shaft only to find an empty room. Etta, seriously? There's nothing here. Stoneheart, I wouldn't say that, she says, pointing towards some double doors as they approached it. Lilith, I wonder what lies within. Stoneheart, only one way to find out. You ready, King? She asks only to get no response from him. Stoneheart, King. King, they're at the bottom, he yelled as the creatures started climbing after them. Luz quickly grabbed King before running towards the double doors, but they wouldn't open. Luz repeatedly punched, kicked, clawed and even slashed the doors with her tail, but nothing worked. The creatures then made it to the top, glaring at everyone. King then backed up against the door, his paw touching it before the doors opened. Luz quickly grabbed everyone and got them inside before immediately closing the door. Etta, well, at least we're safe for now. But how did we get the door open? Lilith, this room is old, she said as everyone looked to see the center of the ceiling with a natural light along with what seemed to be roots of a tree. King then walked towards the room center to see what looked like pieces of a hatchback. Stoneheart, any of this ringing a bell, King? King, I'm not sure, but I think I know how to jog my memory. Etta, I'm ready. Etta, are you sure? King, I am, he says before Etta hands him his missing horn. King, I remember a deep roar. And then something happened. But I was too small to do anything, so I went back to sleep. And then, I hatched from a net. I crawled towards the doors and tapped it with my paws. They opened up and those creatures had found me. But, they didn't hurt me. One of them picked me up and they jumped down the shaft. I then see the light of the room fade as I fell down with them. Stoneheart, King, that roar, it meant son. I don't know how one know that, but I do. Someone called me their son. Luz, I think it was my dad. Stoneheart, maybe it was him and all those wall carvings, she said as they can hear banging from the other side of the door. King then approaches the door, tapping his paw at it as it opens. Both the creatures make their rattling noises, ready to attack. King, stop, he yelled, holding his paw up. The creatures then seemed to calm down before bowing to him. Etta, so these things were defending King from us this whole time? Huh. Alright, she says before Luz turns back into a human. Luz, you see that, King? I told you weren't nobody. King, I was important to someone. If he's out there, I want to find him. I'm not that old, it could be possible. Would you help me? Luz, we'd do anything for you, buddy. Come here, she says before giving King a big hug. King, so, can we keep them? He asks, referring to the creatures. Luz, Etta and Lilith, no. Hootie, yes, they said as Hootie wraps himself around the three witches. So with much reluctance, they all left the island and made their way back to the owl house, carrying the two creatures with them. Once they were home, the creatures had stopped moving. King carved the symbol they saw throughout the tower on his collar and Luz glued King's broken horn back in place before she gave him a kiss goodnight. Luz then heads on down to the living room as Lilith was showing Etta the picture she had taken of the tower. Etta, I've never seen markings like this. Maybe it's some kind of ancient language. Lilith. And those carvings, who are they depicting? Edda. Any ideas, Kit? Loves. I don't know, but whatever we discover, will be there for King. No matter what. She says while looking at a photo of the wall carving of King's potential father. To be continued. Thanks for watching, and if you